All right, we are live. All praise be to the Most High, the Holy One. I want to thank everybody for joining us once again. This is Amuna Yisrael, Solonomics 101, with a little bit of the LEV project. Today we have a LEV project special. The last time you saw a LEV project special was with Brother J.C. Hughes, and this is Discovering Your Roots. So today we have another awesome treat. We have Brother Uzziel Lewi, and man, he's doing a documentary. He's capturing the essence of our history as our elders are still alive, which is like I was just telling him, an awesome thing. And I wanted to bring him on so that you can hear what inspired him, who he is, and how this is so doable. This is so doable with your grandparents, with your aunts, your uncles. Capture that essence of your family history so that you won't forget who you are and you could pass it on to the next generation. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our brother Uzziel. Brother Uzziel, how are you this evening?
Shalom, shalom. How you doing, Sister Amuna?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. Like I said, I'm excited. I'm going to kind of contain my excitement. Tell us about yourself. Before we get to the project, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Uzziel Lewi. I've been, doing this way of life, or been in this way of life since 1989, March 1989. I came in when I was 13 years old.
Wow.
I actually, I used to live around the corner from where, where we used to say the brothers were staying at. I lived on Eastern Parkway and Ralph Avenue.
Okay.
And the brothers were directly around the corner on Lincoln Place and Ralph Avenue. So I had I have a friend by the name of Levan. He used to go to the block parties, and the brothers sometimes be out there. So, he told me, I met the Israelite brothers, and maybe you should come out with me one Saturday and see what they're all about. So I went one Saturday and I never left.
Wow.
So that's basically been my journey with, that's how I came into knowledge of myself at 13 years old.
That's awesome. And see, that's history being captured, because your children's children need to hear, what you just said. That story is very important, that we relate stories to our children, and let them be a part of that history. So like I said, I saw you on social media sharing, by the way, a GoFundMe. I'm going to put the link in the box, a GoFundMe account and it caught my eye because it's a documentary, and it's a documentary about capturing the history of the elders, the history of the Hebrew Israelites, especially right now. I saw some New York interviews. Can you tell us why you were even interested? Like, what came up that you wanted to actually do this?
Well, what actually happened was this. There's so many elders in our community, in particular, in what we know as the Black Jewish community. There was a man by the name of Rabbi Paris, that may the Most High God bless his memory.
Okay.
Me and Chief Benjamin were supposed to start collecting history from him. Because Rabbi Paris, he died a couple of years back, but he was so filled with so much knowledge. I mean, he's coming back from the days of Rabbi Matthews, Rabbi Ford, all the way back then. I mean, he was a living encyclopedia of history, and at 80-something years old, he was still very lucid and very sharp. So what happened is that we procrastinated with that, and he passed away. We were supposed to go to the nursing home, sit down with him, and just download the whole history from him directly from the horse's mouth. I mean, this is a man who was born in Ethiopia.
Okay.
He was born in Ethiopia when the UNIA, which is Marcus Garvey's group, his group in the 20s. A lot of people don't know that Rabbi Ford,
Josiah Ford, correct.
Josiah Ford was the one who wrote the anthem for the UNIA. He also helped to write up the charter for the organization, and so forth and so on. It was supposed to be a movement to go back to Africa.
Yes.
Well, actually, Marcus Garvey never stepped foot on the continent of Africa
Correct.
But Rabbi Ford in 1930 decided to go back to Ethiopia. So in him going back to Ethiopia, him and his wife, they went out there, they opened up a school. But then the Israelite families that went out there, some of them started to come back because of the whole invasion of Italy, you know,
yes,
on Ethiopia. So Mussolini and so forth and so on. So what happened is that Rabbi Josiah Ford told certain families to come back to the U.S. because he didn't want them involved in that mess, but he was going to stay. But there was a family by the name of the Paris family, and they took this young man, Rabbi Paris, and they brought him back. Of course, he adopted the name Paris after they brought him back, but he was actually born in Ethiopia. And he came back. Rabbi Ford ordained Rabbi Matthews to be a rabbi, and so forth and so on. So we're talking about Rabbi Paris having all this wealth of knowledge and history from back then, and he could still explain it very clearly. You understand what I'm saying? It wasn't like he was missing a step or he forgot or he got senile. I mean, this man was very sharp. And when we missed that opportunity, you know, I sat down with my brother Chief Benjamin, because a lot of the things that I do, it might seem like I'm doing them alone, but I have brothers like Chief Benjamin. Right now I'm working a lot with my brother Zion Lex, Uzziel Lewi, Chief Uzziel Lewi. You know, I'm working with these brothers, and they, you know, they kind of fuel me to do certain things. You understand what I'm saying? So since we missed that opportunity, and there are a lot of elders within the the quote unquote Black Jewish community that are still like in their 90s, 80 something years old, that have so much history. So we got on it and we say, you know what?
Gotta do it.
Yeah, we got to stop procrastinating, get on it, and start to do it. So I started out with I actually got a few interviews, you know, prior to what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a lot of Chief of Chiefs, Chief Naphtali Ben Naphtali, and he's a great narrator of the history. You know, he kind of makes you see the picture. So when he's explaining it, you know, a lot of people get to see it and so forth and so on. But, you know, I also got to sit down with LEV.
Oh, wow.
He was the founder of Hashaba Yisrael. Started out in 1960s, and I got to sit down with him and get some of the history from him, and that was a great interview. I got to sit down with Morey Mishael, who was also started out in the 1960s, and he came underneath LEV, and he got to go through some of the history. In fact, he went into detail about the history, how Mikhail ended up in Guyana.
Wow.
You know, and Hashaba Yisrael being open, you know, in Guyana, and now Mikhail has a great community out in Guyana, South America. So just little interviews like that, and doing communicating with people that made me see that, you know what, I have to begin to document this stuff, because these people are not going to be around forever.
Correct.
So we have to leave a legacy for our children.
Yes.
Something that they could look back at, not just words, but actually from the horse's mouth, that are explaining to you what took place, what happened, how everything went down, the good and the bad. There's you know, with the good, there's also some bad. Everything wasn't peachy. There was a lot of things that weren't that peachy. So, you know, and trying to disseminate that information and trying to get it out there to where, you know, some people might get offended, but, you know, you have to tell the truth in all of this, because if you don't tell the truth, you know, a lot of people are going to feel a certain way.
Okay. And I wanted you to tell us that story, and I didn't even know the story, but I just felt like it had to be something really good, because the why is very important about what we do and how we do it. And it was unfortunate, like you said, that because there's a proverb that says, when you lose an elder, you lose a library.
Right.
You know, the library burns to the ground. So you actually had to experience that to say, you know what, I'm not playing around anymore. I'm going to get this on record. And And this is what I say often during this LEV project. And I was telling you, this is actually the 75th episode, that some of our foreparents went through where they had, once they dropped their autobiography, they actually had to leave town. Frederick Douglass was one of them, because at this time it was illegal even to read and even endeavor to want to say you're going to leave something for your children to come back and hear and see. And so we're in a space where we could get a video camera. We're in a space where we can, you know, get a little audio mic and go around and capture the stories of the elders, like you said, the good, the bad, and the indifferent, so that we don't repeat the same mistakes. You know, and so this is why I say it's very, very important what Brother Uzziel is doing, and that we support what he is doing. And whatever community you're in, like I said, start where you are. Know the history of your family. Know the history of your neighborhood, of your communities, so that you don't wander around aimlessly, not knowing where we're going and thinking, oh, you know what, I got a new idea, not knowing it was done like 50 years ago. And this is the reason why it failed. You know, and this is my issue with some of our people in the so-called conscious community, is that we act like we came up with some brand new ideas. And then when you say, hey, read this book about the history, nah, man, I'm good because I'm going to do it different. And it's like, no, you know, find out the mistakes, find out what went wrong so you don't do that very same thing. So now that we're here, you led us up to this point, and hopefully we're able to take away from what you just said. Tell us more about the document.
I just want to say this, right? What's funny about all of this is the way I started out. If you could see, like, if you could look, like, if I pan my camera a little to my right, you see that over there? Those are like cases of cassettes.
Oh gosh.
That's just a little bit of what I'm showing you. This basement, the reason why it looks the way that it looks is because everything that I have in here is just information.
Wow.
CDs, videos. I mean, I have 26 years worth of documented information. So
you the chronicler. You like the scribe.
And what's funny about that is, and this is just a bit of advice for whatever community is listening to right now. If you don't have someone in the midst of you that's a modern day scribe. Okay. My father-in-law, before he was my father-in-law, when I was 14 years old, Chief Amos Ben Yehuda, may the Most High God bless his memory, he told me, get yourself bring your he said, do you have a tape recorder? I said, yeah, I had a little boom box. He said, get some cassettes and begin to record. Wow. Those words at 14 years old made me get to the point that I'm at now. Wow. So now I say that to say this. If you have someone within your community, a young child, or someone that's, 14, 15, and you see they have interest in taking photos and doing these type of things, give them the encouragement to, to begin to record, to begin to document stuff, because you're going to need it in the future. Okay. I know many communities, right? I know many quote unquote Black Jews, right? And I've had this dilemma where, because they're so strict with recording during Sabbath services and doing those type of things, that many of their teachers, they don't have them documented. They don't have them documented, and all those great lessons that they gave are like gone in the wind because they didn't allow electronics in the synagogue, or they didn't allow certain things. So now a lot of them are looking for material, and they don't have it on these great teachers. So just a bit of advice, have someone in your community just go out, purchase a video camera or whatever, even on your phone. Your phone has the voice recorder. Okay. Just document it and save it.
That's awesome advice. That is great advice for those who have just joined us. We're on the line right now, Discovering Your Roots. We're talking to Brother Uzziel Lewi, and he is the modern day chronicler. He just showed us a little bit of all of his years worth of gathering information, and we definitely need these types of individuals in the community where they say the storytellers, who are the griots, the ones who are recording it, the scribes. We're still here today. We're just in different form. We still have that same energy about us. the different modalities of work that we may be in. So at this point, I want to thank everybody for joining us. This is a portion of the LEV project. As you know, we've been reading since the beginning of the year. Many different narratives, and I give thanks every time I read that somebody thought it was important to write it down. So Uzziel, brother Uzziel, tell us a little bit more about the documentary. How long before we get to see the whole thing? I saw a couple of interviews. I was like, wow, where's the rest? And what kind of help do you need to get it finished?
Well, it started out as because like I said, I got so much information, so I just felt like I had to share it. Like it makes no sense to hold on to this stuff.
Right.
So what it started out as was not so much, you know, like one documentary of just a, you know, eventually I'm probably going to get to that. Just one documentary chronicling, you know, where we started from, you know, to this point now. What I'm capturing right now is each community.
Okay.
Understand what I'm saying? Like, you know, I started out with those that were closest and dearest to me. So I do with Chief Naftali Ben Naftali. Then, you know, I already did Prince Zarishadab Ben Yehuda.
Okay.
I haven't put that one out yet. That's like 2 more hours of stuff. You know, Mishael, you know, Cohen Levy, Nasi Barak, you know, who was a connection between what we call the Torah-based Israelites and the Messianic Israelites. And what the Messianics didn't know when they talk about Pop Bibbins, our brothers that be in the street, you know, they didn't know a lot of the history about Pop Bibbins, but Chief of Chiefs and Nasi Barak were there with him on the street corners.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, rather than, like I said, eventually I'm going to get to that, you know, the beginnings of Israel and the United States of America all the way to this.
Right.
But right now what I'm doing is I'm going from community to community, chronicling what each community has, getting pictures, so that everyone have a sense of pride about their community.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if I do a chronicle, what's going to happen is some people are going to be left out, or it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to involve everybody. So what I'm doing right now is, you know, I'm planning to go to Cincinnati, Ohio, to find out about the history over there. You know, and
Moray, what's his name? Alicia Kane, the House of Israel.
Yeah, the House of Israel. He passed away.
Yeah, he did.
But now you got Maury Dan out there, who a lot of people don't know that he started out with Maury Alicia.
Okay.
You know, that they were school boy childhood friends.
Wow.
You know, and these are men in their 70s. You know, wow. So hopefully I could get out there. I haven't spoken to Maury Dan yet, but hopefully he will sit down with me and give me some of the history. You know, and also I'm supposed to make a trip out to Chicago.
Oh yeah, there's some history in Chicago now.
I gotta go to Chicago.
There's a lot of history out there.
So these are two of the cities that I'm going to in order to get information. And you know, there's some other things in the works that I got with other people, and you know, that are going to come forth. So these are the things, and I mean, through the GoFundMe, people already, you know, they help me out, and through the GoFundMe is how I'm going to get out there and get a lot of these things done. And
I heard that. Now I'm about to put Brother Uzziel's GoFundMe in the link, because supporting such things, we say stuff like, man, if only we, and then when people is out there, you're like, yeah, you know, come on now, we have to support one another, because somebody, if they're willing to do the work, then we have to be willing to support in whatever capacity we can, whether it be sharing it, whether it be monetary, because like he says, it does cost to be able to travel and capture this information. Like I said, again, it's just awesome for me, because again, it's just awesome. That's, you know, praise be to the Most High. So there was something I was gonna say. Oh, I was watching one of the videos and I saw that the elder dropped this whole 12 tribe vibration on everybody.
Yeah.
Come on now, because that's huge. That it has split in so many ways, this chart, and to hear that it was kind of a hook, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and check that video out on the 12 chart. It was kind of a hook to bring you in. What did you think? Did you always know that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Of course, I always knew that. It was if you go to my channel, Uzziel Lewi, Uzziel Lewi, or on my Facebook page is also Uzziel Lewi. You just look up Chief of Chiefs Naphtali Part 1, his interview Part 1. And he actually met Abba Bivens. Now, this is the ironic thing, right? The 12 tribe chart was actually just a hook to get people in, to have them identify with something. So, of course, if you're from Judah, you are the slaves that came to the United States. But in all of that, you know, when Chief Counsel Daniel, which was Chief of Chiefs teacher, he directly asked Pop Bivens, you know, or Abba Bivens, you know, come on, you know that this is not true. Why are you teaching this to the people? And what the man who created the chart said, he said, listen, I know that this is not true. He said, but you got to give them something to identify with. He said, this is the hook. He said, once you hook them in, he said, then you teach them what it is. He said, but meanwhile, you got to give them something to identify with. So even the creator of the chart understood that it wasn't actually based on truth. You know, it was just a hook.
Wow.
And the ironic thing is this. He called himself Eved Benjamin, right? He was from the United States. Now, most Israelites know that when you pick your name, right? Like my name is Uzziel Lewi. So, you know, I'm associating myself with the tribe of Lewi.
Okay.
Right? So if he was from America and he said his name was Eved Benjamin,
okay,
right? He associated himself with the tribe of Benjamin, right? He didn't associate himself with the tribe of Judah,
okay,
which in the short, it says that if you are from North America, the United States of America, you are from the tribe of Judah. You know, so his name wasn't Pop Bivens. Everybody calls him Pop Bivens, Abba Bivens, but his name, his Hebrew name was Eved Benjamin.
wow.
But that was his Hebrew name. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And, you know, it was explaining how the whole way that, you know, they speak the Hebrew came about.
Oh, touch on that for me, brother, because again, the truth shall set us free. You know, this is with all love, all praise be to the Most High, but there are a lot of things that have spiraled into so many different directions. It's causing fractions and divisions, and we need to hear the truth. We need to go back to source. This is why I say support the documentary, man, so that we can begin to start to mend some of these separations that should not be there. Please, just I'm not gonna keep you too much longer, but please.
No. I'm here. Listen.
All right, touch on the and all this stuff that you're talking about now.
Okay, so in having an interview with Nasi Barak. Nasi Barak is an Israelite that went to Ben Ezra King, Hashaba Yisrael. He went to the Tanakh school, as it was the Israeli Tanakh school, you know, as it was originally called. It was 1 West 125th Street. They used to go out to I forgot the name of the park, flees me right now, but it's Marcus Garvey. Back then it was called something different, but today it's called Marcus Garvey Park. It is up in Harlem, so they used to go out there and teach. And Nasi Barak, who actually is trilingual, he speaks fluent Hebrew. He's from Panama, so he knew Spanish and he also knew English. So Nasi Barak, he was a great asset to Abba Bivens because he knew Spanish, and being on 125th Street, you got portions of Spanish people that's coming up and down, and he could interpret the word in Spanish. So Nasi Barak, he spoke to Pop Bivens about, or to Abba Bivens about the way that he spoke Hebrew. And what Abba Bivens told him And what they used to call that form of Hebrew was, or what Abba Bivens called that form of Hebrew was Derek Abot, which means the way. Derek means the way, and Abot means of our fathers. This is what Pop Bivens or Abba Bivens called that, you know, form of Hebrew with the ah sound all through it. And what he explained to Nasi Barak was that one day he was sitting down at his table, and that he was studying at his dining room table. He was studying, and that in studying, that a man appeared to him in a gray suit, and you know, in a black suit or a gray suit, and he told him and he taught him that this is the way that he should read the Hebrew. So, I mean, you could take that for what it's worth. I don't want to disrespect the legacy of the man, but I mean, you know, you could take that or leave it, but that's not the way that we spoke Hebrew, and that's not the way that our forefathers spoke Hebrew. And when you look at the interview, Nasi Barak says, you know, he said, yeah, I learned it, but because of the respect and the love he had for the man, he said, but he said, we speak Sephardic. We don't speak, you know, this type of Hebrew like this, you know. We speak the Hebrew of the people of the East. So, you know, that's where that came around. So, you know, there's a lot of obscurities. A lot of the brothers who are out there teaching, they never even met Pop Bivens, and their teachers never even met them.
Wow.
But I actually found people that have met Abba Bivens, that have sat down and spoken to him, and have gotten some of his opinions on some of the things that are taught as being truths today, when back then they were just things to bring people in. So basically they took it, they made it truths, but he was just using it as a gimmick to bring people in. And that's what, you know, that's what that whole thing is about.
How important is history for those who have just joined us? My name is Amuna Yisrael, and I am pleased to be here with Brother Uzziel Lewi. And we're talking about the importance of history. We're talking about the importance of truth and digging for the truth, so that we can at least make an informed decision going forward. Again, this is part of the LEV project, and we're encouraging you that wherever you are, begin to be aware of your surroundings. If you have that elder uncle who's like 90-something, go talk to him.
That's right.
Go speak to them. If you have a grandmother who's 100, don't just put it on Facebook. Sit down and say, Grandma, what's going on? Tell me about when you were. I have a grandmother. She's still in New York right now, in Brooklyn. If I call her right now, I'm like, man, Grandma, you know, your memory, she come from Jamaica, so I'm like, your memory good. Like, she could tell you the street she lived on when she was 17. And I'm like, Grandma, tell me the story, because I would like to know, because this is a part of where we're coming from and who we are. And the reason, a lot of times, for instance, and I didn't want to try to take it off point, but I was supposed to do a video, and I'm going to do a video on remembering Malcolm X. Because I remember when I was a young girl, I read his autobiography. When you read the first chapter of the Malcolm X book, by the way, it was published in the 1950s, and Alex Haley actually wrote the autobiography of Malcolm X. It's a real thick book, you know what I mean? Get in it. But Malcolm's father went through something tragic with Europeans. And what he expressed at that time was that he was always afraid that the same thing would happen to him.
Right.
So he internalized that history and projected it on his reality, and it actually manifested.
Right.
His life in a way that projection came to being. So we actually, the Creator says, the sins of our forefathers, you know, they will follow us. They will, you know, wherever we will go unless we turn. And so when we see things reoccurring in our families to the third and fourth generation, and we see themes that keep coming up, we need to take the time to ask some questions. Don't just say, oh, I don't know, it's a family curse. No, you need to know, you know what, who did what? You know, because this energy is following you. It will follow you, and it was said to follow you. So I'm not going to go all the way off there, because, you know, I get kind of hyped, but I'm going to calm down right now. So, Brother Uzziel, before we wrap it up, like I said, because I have, wait, one more question. So in the beginning of the Tanakh school, was it Torah only? And did you find out in your interviews or in your studies of this history when it now became, when it turned, when it now became what it is today?
Well, from what I gathered from Nasi Barak, who was actually the one who went up there and studied. He came from Ben Azakim, which is Torah based. But what he said is, what he told me is that It wasn't just Torah based.
Oh.
He said that Abba Bivens did go into the New Testament, but he didn't teach it the same way that is being taught today.
Oh.
You know, he taught it more in a sense of historical purpose. You know, us being Torah based, we don't look into that. But me being a historian, I have to record everything.
Yeah, you have to record everything.
I have to record everything. So he was just telling me that, yeah, he would go into it, but he didn't teach it as if, you know, the man, quote unquote, you know, Jesus was God. You know, he taught it as, you know, he was just a prophet, okay, and so forth and so on. As it developed, if you see these brothers' history, you see that people started to join them that started to push that.
Take it in that direction.
Take it in that direction. So it wasn't so much that the elder did that, but, you know, we don't mess with it at all. And, you know, we're Torah based. You know, I'm Torah based, but in gathering the history, I'm going to run across people that are Torah based, that are messianics, you know, and that's just part of the history. You know what I'm saying? So,
it definitely is. And the reality is, the scribes, if they didn't scribe everything, then we wouldn't have known that you went off and worshiped idols, and the foreparents went off and did this in the valley and did this behind the tree. We wouldn't have known that stuff, because the history would have been slighted, it would have been jaded. And so the reality of us knowing all of this stuff is because they were transparent. And, you know, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna hide it because you Israel, I don't want to tell nobody you was into stuff. No, they wrote it, and that's how come we know.
That's how it is.
So yeah, it is journalism. You have to report as the story is being told, and I really appreciate that. As we're winding down here, I want to thank everybody who's tuning in, who's going to tune in later on. Hopefully you're inspired wherever you are to begin to value history. Before, we used to, like I say, sit at the feet of the elders, but a lot of people who are just behind computers, not in touch with elders, haven't seen elders, don't know what elders look like. This hopefully will help you to get from behind your computer and be in touch with people, stories, and information as they experience it. So, Brother Uzziel, as we're winding down here, is there anything else that you would like to say about it? What's the next step on it? Are you just still in the gathering process? Is there anything else that you would like to say to everyone?
Just stay tuned. You know, subscribe to the channel, the Uzziel Lewi channel. Oh, on June 19th, we're having an event at here in Brooklyn, New York, Restoration Plaza. It's called Valley of the Dry Bones. There's going to be an event. It's more so geared towards the problems and the solutions in our community. You know, Restoration Plaza on Fulton Street in Brooklyn, New York. I think most people know where it's at. It's located in the West Side section of Brooklyn, and most of our people know where that's located at. June 19th, from 3 to 7 p.m. The guest speakers are going to be my brother Chief Naftali Ben Don, who's a very powerful, strong speaker. We also have my brother Zion Lex, Uzziel Lewi, and also got my brother, got a brother who we brought in at the end, because these brothers are very adept with the law of the United States of America. The Moore brother, his name is Sharif Bey. So like I said, this is not something that's going to be speaking on philosophy. It's going to be more about what's needed in our community, the problems and the solutions in our community. So, you know, we're putting together a powerful group in order to make this thing happen. June 19th, you can go on my page. If you could share my Facebook page.
I'll share that as well.
And I also have the flyer there. If you could find it and share that flyer, it could you can see all the information on it. How you can buy tickets for the event. It's going to be a powerful event. It's going to be a great event, and you wouldn't want to miss something like that, because you have very powerful speakers. We also going to bring the drummers out. If you enjoy our drummers, we also going to have them out that day, and it's going to be beautiful, beautiful.
Are you going to live stream it for those who are no longer in Brooklyn and so far away?
The only thing with the live stream, we're not sure how the Wi-Fi or the internet.
Okay.
Because it's going where we're at. Restoration Plaza is so big,
yeah,
that we're going to be in the basement area. But the basement, the location of the basement is the biggest space.
Okay.
But we don't know how the stream is gonna be able to go. So it might be something that we might not be able to stream, and you might have to come out and come see it live. But anyways, we will have a videotape or something on DVD.
All right, now you heard it. That was the voice of Brother Uzziel Lewi. I want to thank him for coming in. I want to thank him for spending some time here with me today at, the LEV Project edition of Solonomics. I hope you guys were inspired. I hope you heard something that you can take with you. And I said it before, so I won't say it again. And just basically continue to be that change that you want to see in the world. Sometimes we're like, yeah, I'm just going to go out there and shine. Or, and sometimes it just takes something small that you're doing, but you're consistent at it. And you're doing it from the depths of your soul. So now it's going to have that vibration on it that's going to attract people to it. And so for all of the links, I'm going to go ahead and put all the links in there. You already know we right now we're doing a LEV project, and we are on Henry Box Brown. Brother, have you heard of Henry Box Brown?
No, I haven't heard of him.
Oh, Henry Box Brown is one of the most famous people on the Underground Railroad.
Okay.
And the reason is because he was in Virginia, and they sold off his wife, and they did all kind of crazy stuff. And he was like, you know what? I'm about to do something wild. I'm going to mail myself to freedom. And so he puts himself in a box, okay? And the abolitionists write to Pennsylvania, and they write a letter, and they send him in a box. It took him, I think, less than a day to get from Virginia to Pennsylvania. And when he comes out of the box, he stands as a free man. So his story is infamous on the Underground Railroad, and we're reading his autobiography right now, and it's fire. That's all I got to say. He is like out of this world.
He mailed himself in a box?
He mailed himself in a box, and for almost 2 hours during the journey, because he's in this crate. And in 2 hours during, and my son is giving me, they actually have a children's edition as well, Henry's Freedom Box. So they did it in a children's edition, but there's also the adult autobiography that he penned. And so for 2 hours during the journey, he was on his head. Okay, he said his veins felt like it wanted to pop out of his head. And then finally, the Europeans who was pushing him, they finally turned him right side up, and they copped a squat on the box. and when he got there, he was alive. And his story is most infamous. So Henry Box Brown, if you got children, if you have children, read this story to them. And if you're an adult, check out the autobiography. Or if not, if you want to hear it read to you, come on over to the LEV Project, because we're going to finish up on that story. Like I said, wild story. But
you're doing a great job, sister.
Oh, praise be to the Most High. Everybody have to do their part, and sometimes we don't like reading, so guess what? I'll read for you. We can just come here and we can have the conversation. And we spoke people through. I don't know if you saw the Underground. I don't read TV. I had to find a way to watch this thing, and it went for 10 episodes. And we just watched it collectively, and we worked through our feelings, because a lot of us still have pent-up feelings due to slavery. Some people don't want to hear about it.
That was a movie on the Underground Railroad.
It was a series. It came on WGN. It just finished 2 weeks ago. And what they did was incorporate it. Yes, they were looking at slavery not from the fact that, oh, I'm so sad I'm a slave, but they focused it around 7 individuals who decided to run together.
Right.
And in that running, they lost some. This is for now, because a lot of people's like, hey, we could do this. But you're going to understand there's going to be casualties along the way. There's going to be people who want to turn back. There's going to be people who want to rat you out. And so all of this is what you see in the narrative of the Underground. And it's beyond Harriet Tubman. Like I said, they kind of put Henry Box Brown in there, and they had artistic license. But as we're reading these narratives, I could see where they're pulling the stories from. Sometimes we're watching, we're like, oh man, but they're actually pulling from narratives.
Okay.
And they put it together in this, a fictional kind of based on nonfiction type of thing. So it was very interesting. And a lot of people enjoyed just having somebody to speak to about it, you know, and work your feelings through. So that's what we did, and it was successful. So all praise be to the Most High.
WGN?
Yeah, if you go to the site, I'm gonna actually send you the link. If you go to the site, they may have all the videos on replay. It was very highly charged, and you're able to see when we see it. A lot of our people don't want to see it, but the reality is seeing it and working through it is the only way you're really going to begin to release these feelings that you have,
right,
that are so dormant within you. Whether you, my parents come from the Caribbean, so the Caribbean slavery is different than American slavery.
That's right.
But we had a different experience.
That's right.
But I'm working through American slavery, and I'm like, my goodness, you understand? My goodness.
If you go down to Brazil, you go to Brazil. Brazil was a whole different beast.
Brazil was a whole different story, and a lot of people don't realize Brazil got the most slaves.
That's right.
Brazil, yeah, they got. Go ahead.
Let me tell you something about Brazil.
Okay.
That a lot of people don't know, and when you say this, the brothers and sisters from me, oh, our slavery was rough. Think about Brazil. Brazil was, I believe, about a 6-day journey from West Africa to Brazil. I believe it was about a 6-day journey. To come to North America, to the Caribbean, it took sometimes months.
Yeah. It depends on the weather and the time of year. It depends
on the current, how things are going, and all these things. Now, if you think about Brazil, you know, it was easier to transport a slave. The Portuguese would transport a slave every time. So, as crazy as this might sound, the North American slave owner would think twice. He will whip you.
But he won't kill you.
But he don't want to kill you because it's harder to get a slave up here than it is Brazil. They'll just kill you. And the next shipment of slaves is coming 6 days later.
It was easier to, and I just told a sister this yesterday. I have a book. It's called More Than Chattel. And it goes into different slavery, and it speaks about Brazil. And like what you're saying, the turnover rate is like they'll murk you and get somebody else. So much so that they brought the population in the beginning. The men way outweighed the women, because I'll just work you till you die, and then, you know, I'll just replace you quickly, until they began to realize that there was a disparaging number of men towards women. And people speak about, and this is another topic, but people speak about the relationship way in which the masters would do. But in Brazil, it was more of they would have four men to one woman.
Right.
Because of the fact that there was a shortage. They would prostitute some of these women. Understand that depending on where you were, you're going to have different types of trauma. Right. Everybody is traumatized, and this is why it's very important to begin to study the slavery and the nature of the injury for where you are coming from. Right. Because this is why we say, why can't we all get along? Because we don't all have the same issues.
Right.
We have issues, but we don't all have the same issues. We don't have the same nature of injury. And even though my parents are not from America, there's a wealth of information in America concerning slavery. Listen, and y'all gonna get me excited, but I'm gonna calm down. Let me just say this. There is a wealth of information on slavery. When I say free, there's a digital library. I post it every time. The mass majority of these narratives we're reading are free. Someone else did that work, and they put it there for you. And if we let it go the way of the wind, like you said earlier, then we kind of didn't learn the lesson. It's like we're arguing back and forth, but the reality is it's right there waiting for you, dusty. You understand what I'm saying? And it's saying, look, if you're going to quote Deuteronomy 28 and Leviticus 26, and it's going to say, yeah, they told you that was going to happen, then please read what happened.
You know what's funny? Funny, now that you engaged me in that conversation, I seen a documentary that Henry Louis Gates did. I don't know if you saw it.
I saw that.
Yes. When the rivers or something with the rivers cross, it was like a 5-day documentary. He went back to West Africa. Now, I've been learning this for years, right? My teacher's been teaching it to me. Yeah, you know, people sold us, Africans sold us into slavery. They were, you know, black people sold us into slavery to the Europeans. And for Henry Louis Gates to actually get West African tribes to say
confession,
yeah, you know, it was passed down to us. It was told to us that those people weren't us. You know, and those were different tribes. So we round them up, and we sold them to the European. That's what my forefathers told me. To actually hear that was like a sense of wow.
Yeah.
You know, like this thing is really like, it made Deuteronomy 28 not just someone telling you that this is what happened, it made it come to life because you got people out there actually doing the work. So these are things that you have to look at.
Yes.
You don't have to look at the messenger, but look at the message.
Correct.
Not like Henry Louis Gates. You might not like Cornel West. You might not like these people, but listen to the information that they bringing you.
Correct.
You know, Henry Louis Gates also did a documentary on why certain black people don't consider themselves black. Like if you go to the Dominican Republic,
yes,
you know, 85% of the people have African blood running through them, but they have a hatred for anything black. Correct. So rather than call themselves black, they call themselves Indian. Yes. When they don't have a drop of Indian blood in them.
And it goes deep.
The Haitian people, most of them have Haitian, what they call quote unquote Haitian blood in them, you know, because those were the ones who were in the island first. The people, correct, they liberated the island.
Correct.
So, you know, it's different dynamics, you know, how certain people in certain parts of the diaspora, how they think and how they carry themselves and the way that they feel about themselves and how much better they are than you. And when you look at it, you know, we're all in the same boat. That's what I always tell people.
What you just said, like you said, it's true. In the Caribbean, you know, it's this colonial thought. The closer you are to England, if it's England who overtook your island, if it was the Dutch, if it was the Portuguese, and the closer you are to mirroring the oppressor, you know, the less connected you are to them people.
Right.
Like them people is you. You understand what I'm saying? But it's like you can't, and this is whether it be colorism, we have colorism amongst ourselves. We have to be honest about that. Right. The first thing you do when you see somebody is, like the other day, I went to a Rastaman shop, and the first thing he does is look at my children and say, those two are dark and these two are light. And I'm saying to myself, like, you see, is that what is at the forefront of your mind? You know, oh, they must have taken after them father. I'm like, okay, you know, you got genetics that come through the line. You might have a child who just, where'd you get that from? Or my great grandmother. And we're so caught up in that. But it wasn't just us. It was the slave master saying to you, this is how I categorize you. This is how I'm going to tell whether or not you're this or whether or not you're that, whether or not you're worthy of this or whether or not you're. And we have to understand that we have taken that on and become his best ally, because he doesn't even need to do it anymore.
Right.
We're doing it to ourselves.
That's right.
And Uzziel, you done brought me over here, or maybe I brought myself over here. And this is my area that I kind of, you know, but definitely for those who are out there, at least pick it up. I promise you, just pick it up and begin to. And what is also interesting, first-hand accounts, and get Europeans also, because we were reading like John Barbeau, a French European, or Alexander Falconbridge, who's another European who, when they decided, you know what, this slavery thing is not nice anymore, we kind of don't like it, they started telling all the business.
Right.
So they're telling you exactly how the thing went down. And here's one thing I remember in reading. He said, one of them, Alexander Falconbridge, if I'm not mistaken, he said, we couldn't dock without the permission of the African chiefs. And when we would come, they would come up to the ship and come aboard. And they would look at the cargo, and they had to give them permission to get off that ship and start to trade. So never you believe that some Europeans just hopped off the ship and all of a sudden they was going at. That's not how it happened. They had to pay tariffs, they had to pay taxes, and they had to get permission to do what they did.
Wow.
And this is, listen, and this is not only from the Europeans saying this. You have Africans who are saying, if you guys abolish the slave trade, what are we going to do now? We're going to go back to farming? How are we going to make our money?
Yeah.
So understand that when it says everybody conspired, this was a conspiracy on a high level. Everybody was complicit in this, and many people came across the waters. Let me just say that. And I'll leave it at that because, like I said, so many narratives are spinning in my head that I'll just be.
I need to get you on my channel. I don't know if you do the Friday night thing, but I do this thing on Friday nights. You know, we open up and we speak about certain things on the Torah. But
okay, this is Torah. This. I tell people I went to Deuteronomy 28 and stopped. You know how you like I haven't moved yet because this is because it's like this is what people keep referencing, but this is like someone who's laid up in a hospital and still can't walk, still can't function properly. This is the baby's peeping and they're wondering, you know, what happened.
Right.
We have to go through rehabilitation. We have to find out the nature of the injury so that we can heal it.
That's
we
right.
can't just throw stuff at it like, oh, this is it. That's it. That's not it. It's
right.
so much deeper than that. And I pray that we look at the healing aspect of our journey because it's very, very important. Very important. But you know, I'm gonna let it go.
I definitely need to get you on. I'm gonna link up with you and maybe get you one of these Friday nights, and you could come on and you could share all this information with us because certainly got a lot.
Yeah, like I said, we go in 6 months, and I've been reading it before. I you know, just these narratives are some of them coming straight out. He's telling you his life, the adventures of Venture Smith. He starts off his narrative, and then I'm gonna let you go. He starts off his narrative in Africa. He tells you that his father was a prince, and then he tells you how he got captured and came to America. Deep. So it's not ambiguous anymore. They're giving you places, people, things, what actually happened. You know, more than Kunta Kinte, because that's about how much I knew back in the day. Kunta Kinte, that's it. You know.
You know what I also started to do, and this is what I don't understand why people don't do it. I downloaded every picture. Try to download every picture that I find where they lynched our forefathers, where they burnt us, where they hung us. I mean, all that stuff is out there. Okay. You better document it before they say this stuff is obscene. You cannot put it out anymore, and they start cleaning the internet out from this. Document everything that you have. When you call me a chronicler, I try to document every picture, everything. I try to save it because you never know when it's going to happen.
Well, they take it all away.
They take it all away.
And that's what they did when we came here. They took it all away. They said, hit you on your head and say, no, you're not that. You're now a slave. No, you have no roots. No, you have no culture. No, you have no family. No, you have no land. No, you have no language. And today you wake up and say, who am I?
Yeah.
You understand? And only when you connect, this is why we cleave on to history now. Like, oh man, I got to connect to something. So I can remember who I am and come back to life. And so, I'm gonna let you go, Brother Uzziel, because I'm all in this, you know, I'm all in the LEV project vibration.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
I want to thank you for coming in. I want to definitely thank Brother Uzziel Lewi for coming on. For those, I can't do it tomorrow because I have a show tomorrow, but most I will in Tuesday, we'll finish up Henry Box Brown. Again, and also, Brother Uzziel, we open up the floor for people who would like to read. So I read mostly because I haven't had any volunteers, but we open up the floor for those who want to lend their project to the narratives, and we read collectively. So
I have a book here. I haven't gotten through it because there's about 2,000 pages.
Woo!
It's called, let me see if I can read, Slave Trade by Hugh Thomas.
Woo!
Did you ever read that book?
And it sounds juicy.
This book starts to break down how when we first started out here, we actually were surpassing, you know, the poor whites and the blacks were actually working hand in hand.
Yes.
And what happened is that the plantation owners saw this.
Yes.
And they seen that we were forming sort of like unions. Okay. Because we were all in the same predicament.
Came.
The poor white that came, they weren't looking at things about race. So yeah, everybody has their clan, everybody has their people that they click with. When it came to work, we all kind of like organized and moved. So what the plantation owner said, these people are getting too strong.
Yes.
So they started playing the race card and telling the poor whites, these niggas is going to take your job and going to take this and going to take that. And you see it, it's evident today.
Correct.
You see it with poor white people who, if they probably got together with blacks, will probably form the strongest unions in America and get anything done. Yeah. But it's the same divide and conquer. They separate you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And they make you hate black people, and you doing worse than black people yourself.
Correct.
While the rich man stays rich.
And it was actually those same poorer class white people in this narrative of Black Wall Street. When you read and you look at it, black people came up like, these Negroes, you got nice things, and I live in the bush.
Burning everything down and stealing everything.
Yeah, I'm about to burn your Jimmy down, because you know what I'm saying, you shouldn't be better than a white man.
Right.
I actually have a book, I haven't gotten to it yet. It's called The Invention of White People.
Oh, wow.
That breaks down a little bit of what you're talking about. So like I said, we have so much to study that for me, we got to bring it closer to now. You know, sometimes we argue about ancient Egypt and this and that and this and that. And I'm like, there's so much, like right now, you could literally reach out and touch it.
Touch it, right. You could touch it.
You could touch it. You could smell it. It's still here. It's still, and it would help us so much more to work through this vast body of work, because the slave trade and everything that happened thereafter, you're talking about a vast body of work.
Right.
The beginning, the middle, antebellum, postbellum. I mean, the thing is huge. No one person could really digest it. So we need all hands on deck. I promised I was going to stop, so I'm going to stop right now. Right, I want to thank Brother Uzziel Lewi for coming on and just, you know, engaging in this conversation. This is how we need to begin to bridge the gaps between brothers and sisters. Where we have conversations where it's going to edify ourselves as well as the community. So once again, thank you, Brother Uzziel, for coming in. Support the documentary, the works. And once again, if you got a phone, you don't have no excuse. You know, go out there, get the information, begin to document. It's nothing about biting or copying. It's about doing that work, you know, and getting the information so that you can learn and at least teach your children. I mean, come on, teach the children something. Teach them something. But until next time, my name is Amuni Israel. This has been Solonomics 101, the LEV Project. And once again, one.
Shalom, shalom.